Hello, everyone. My name is Tom, and welcome back to Podspace English. Today, we will explore something very important. It is about history. More exactly, it is about learning from history. Why should we look back? Why should we read about old wars, past leaders, ancient civilizations, or old mistakes? Isn't the present more important? Isn't the future what we should focus on? These are fair questions, but the truth is, without history, we are blind. Without history, we cannot understand who we are, why the world looks this way, or how we should build tomorrow. So, today I will talk with you as a friend about the importance of learning from history. I will share examples, stories, and ideas. And of course, I will keep the English level clear and friendly for B1, B2 learners. Let's begin. When I was a student, I once had a teacher who said, "History is a mirror." At first, I did not understand what he meant. A mirror shows your face. But history, what does it show? Later, I realized his point. When you look in the mirror, you see yourself. When you look at history, you see humanity. You see what people have done, good and bad. You see our choices, our failures, our victories, and from that you learn. Think about war. Sadly, human history is full of wars. From ancient battles to world wars, millions of people have died. But from these wars, we learned lessons. For example, after the Second World War, countries decided to create the United Nations. They wanted a place where leaders could talk before fighting. Is the world perfect now? Of course not. Conflicts still exist, but many wars were avoided because leaders looked at the past and said, "We must not repeat that again." Another example is medicine. In the past, people did not know about germs or infections. Many died from simple cuts or small diseases. Then scientists like Louis Pasteur and Florence Nightingale changed the way we understood health. They studied the past, they saw what went wrong, and they improved the future. Thanks to history, we live longer and healthier today. But history is not only about science or politics. It is also about culture. Think about music. Jazz, for example, was born in the United States from African rhythms and European instruments. Without knowing the history of jazz, we cannot understand its meaning. Or think about literature. Shakespeare, Dante, Cervantes, these writers shaped the way we tell stories. When we read them, we connect with hundreds of years of human creativity. And history is not only about big names, it is also about ordinary people. Diaries, letters, photographs, all show us how life was in the past. For example, during the First World War, many soldiers wrote letters home. Today, when we read them, we understand their pain, their hope, their humanity. It reminds us that history is not just about kings or generals. It is about people like you and me. But let's be honest. Some people say history is boring. Too many dates, too many names. Maybe you felt that in school. But history is not only about memorizing dates, it is about stories, it is about human drama, it is about choices and consequences. Imagine a movie with love, hate, power, betrayal, courage, and fear. That is history. Except it is not fiction, it really happened. And the best part? We can learn from it. Take the Roman Empire as an example. At one time, Rome controlled a huge part of the world. Roads, laws, architecture, all advanced for their time. But Rome also fell. Why? Because of corruption, inequality, and division. Today, when countries look at Rome, they see a lesson. Even the strongest power can collapse if it forgets justice and balance. Or think about the Great Depression in the 1930s. Millions lost their jobs, banks failed, families suffered. Later, governments introduced rules to protect the economy. Today, when a crisis appears, leaders remember the Great Depression. They say, "We cannot allow this again." History teaches us about mistakes, but it also teaches us about courage. Think of people like Martin Luther King Jr., Mahatma Gandhi, or Nelson Mandela. They fought for justice and freedom. Their struggles show us that change is possible. They show us that one voice can make a difference. Now, let me share something personal. A few years ago, I traveled to Berlin. I visited the Berlin Wall. For many years, that wall divided the city into east and west. Families were separated. People could not move freely. Some even died trying to cross it. Standing there, I felt the weight of history, but I also felt hope. Because in 1989, people protested and the wall finally fell. Today, Berlin is united. That place taught me that walls may stand for a time, but people's desire for freedom is stronger. This is why traveling is powerful. When you visit historical places, history becomes real. It is not just a line in a book. You can see it, touch it, and feel it. If you have a chance, visit a museum, a castle, or even an old village. You will feel the stories around you. Let's think about identity. Who are we? Where do we come from? History answers that. Nations, languages, religions, traditions all come from history. For example, when we celebrate holidays, we are continuing traditions from the past. When we speak our language, we are using words created by history. Without knowing history, we cannot understand ourselves, but history also helps us understand others. Imagine two countries in conflict. If we only look at the present, we may say they hate each other. But if we look at the past, we may discover old wars, colonization, or injustice. Suddenly, things make more sense. We do not need to agree, but we can understand. And understanding is the first step to peace. Another reason why history is important is critical thinking. When we study history, we learn to ask questions. Why did this happen? Who made this choice? Could it be different? We learn to see that every story has many sides, not only one truth, but many perspectives. This skill is very useful today. In the age of the internet with so much information, we need to think critically. We need to ask, is this true or is it manipulation? History trains our mind for that. There is also a connection between history and progress. Technology, for example, is always changing. But each invention comes from earlier steps. The smartphone in your hand would not exist without the telegraph, the telephone, the radio, the computer. By studying history, we see how ideas grow over time. This helps us create new ideas for the future. Some people say, the past is the past, forget it. But those who forget history often repeat mistakes. There is a famous quote, "Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it." It means if we do not learn from mistakes, we will make them again. Imagine driving a car with no mirrors. You cannot see what is behind you. You may crash. History is our mirror. Let's also think about personal history. Each of us has a family story. Our parents, grandparents, great-grandparents. Maybe they lived through war, migration, or change. Their experiences shaped us. Listening to their stories is also learning history, and sometimes it gives us strength. For example, my grandfather lived during the Second World War. He told me stories about rationing, about fear, but also about community spirit. People helped each other. They shared food. They survived together. When I feel life is hard, I remember his stories. They remind me that humans can be strong in difficult times. Now, let's talk about education. Why do schools teach history? Because young people must understand the world. They must know where democracy comes from, why human rights are important, or how wars started. If they only study math or science, they may be clever, but without history, they may not be wise. Knowledge is about facts. Wisdom is about understanding. History gives wisdom. History also inspires art. Painters, writers, filmmakers often use history for ideas. Think of movies about World War II or novels about the Middle Ages. They not only entertain us, they also make us reflect. And sometimes history gives warning signs. For example, when governments become too powerful, when propaganda fills the media, when people lose their rights, history shows us the danger. By recognizing these signs, we can protect freedom. But history is not only about pain, it is also about beauty. Look at the pyramids in Egypt, the Great Wall of China, the cathedrals in Europe, the temples in Asia. These are masterpieces. They show what humans can build when they work together. When we study them, we feel pride in human creativity. So, to summarize our talk, history is important for many reasons. It teaches us about mistakes and successes. It shows us identity and culture. It trains our critical thinking. It warns us about dangers. It inspires art, science, and progress. And it connects us with humanity. Learning history is not only about the past, it is about today and tomorrow. It is about making better choices. So, my friends, next time you read a history book or watch a documentary or visit an old place, remember, you are not wasting time. You are training your mind. You are building wisdom. You are preparing for the future. Thank you for joining me today on Podspace English. I hope this episode gave you new ideas and motivation to learn more history. Maybe you can choose a historical figure or a period and read about it. Or maybe ask your grandparents about their stories. Remember, history is not dead. It lives in us and we carry it forward. This was Tom from Podspace English. Stay curious, keep learning, and see you in the next episode.